Hillsdale College has unusually assigns, let's say, unusually a central role to both liberal education and citizenship. The statues on your campus attest to this. How do you see that relationship? I mean, from some people would say they're antithetical to each other. Liberal education is about universals and about transcendent things, or about old things. And on the other hand, politics is about here and now and our own, and that they pull you in two different directions. So why do you try to combine them, or how do you try to combine them?
There's this curious thing about the classical world. They wrote an awful lot about politics. Plato's Republic.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, there's politics is a liberal art. But in the modern time, I could show a relationship and a contrast that way. Modern politics are built on the idea of success, effectiveness. We can make the world the way we want to. We just have to organize everything to get that done. And that means that modern politics tends to reduce education to vocation. That's a way to get a job, turn you into a worker, turn you into a producer. The committee in the House of Representatives that deals with education is the Education and the Workforce Committee, right? But that's because it tries to do everything that way.
Yes.
Now, the Declaration of Independence is not couched in those terms. Its view is that there are some ultimates beyond politics, and politics are to be fashioned according to those ultimates, and they're wrong if they're not. And so the study of those things that are beyond politics breeds, and that liberal education comes from the conception that there are some ends that are not tied to anything above them, and therefore they're free. They're the ultimates. They're liberal. They're good for their own sake. But that, of course, obviously connects to liberty, because the free man, the man at large, to devote himself to that life above while dealing with necessity, that man wouldn't be told what to do by an intrusive government.
One of your heroes and one of your statues, so to speak, Winston Churchill, of course, famously said a life has to be nailed either to the cross of thought or the cross of action. But you're intimating he was wrong about that.
He was... you have to understand what he meant. So either one is a sacrifice. Mm-hmm. They both have their claims, and they're both necessary. But this is the same man who also said, I'll complete a quote that I used earlier, a few days after the Iron Curtain speech, he went to the University of Miami before Donna Shalala was its president. And he gave a speech, and he said...
why would he go?
Yeah, why would he go? He said, I hope that the returning servicemen will not study purely vocational subjects. And that's when he said, engines were made for men, not men for engines. Mm-hmm. And to have a broad, comprehending outlook on the human story with all its tragedies and all of its unquenchable hopes is necessary for a well-ordered soul. So, and Churchill himself, he didn't go to college, but he developed a want to go to college. Mm-hmm. And the reason why he didn't go, I believe, although he doesn't quite explicitly say that, is contained in a conversation he had with some people from Oxford that he reports in his book, My Early Life. And these people from Oxford were nihilist or relativist, and they were claiming that...
Fashionably intellectual.
Very much, yeah. And he says...
Bloomsbury types, huh?
Everything depends on your senses, right?
Uh-huh.
And the senses are unreliable. You can't prove. And he says, well, you both see the sun and feel its heat. And they say, senses. And he says, well, you could make an instrument that would measure it and confirm what you see and feel. And they say, senses. And he says, well, okay then.